I volunteered at the Al-Adan hospital. While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators, and left the children to die on the cold floor.
A 15-year-old girl going by the fake name Nayirah appeared before a congressional committee. Tearfully, she tells that she was a volunteer in a Kuwaiti hospital after Saddam Hussein's invasion. She claims that she saw Iraqi soldiers pull premature babies out of incubators so they could steal them and take them back to Iraq, and then leave the babies on the floor to die. She was lying, but it was too late. A fabricated tale of dead babies can travel halfway around the world before the real and still alive babies can even put their shoes on. After the invasion, the Kuwaiti royal family fled and formed a government in exile. Kuwait, a small but oil-rich country on the Persian Gulf, was not able to fend off the Iraqi invasion on their own, and they had to figure out how to convince the Americans to get involved in their regional war. They hired Hill & Knowlton, then the largest PR firm in the world. The firm had deep political connections, including to members of Congress who would later host the testimony. They needed a story that would make Americans care. The Kuwaiti government in exile created a front group, Citizens for a Free Kuwait.
Are you with one organization? Or?
I am the president of Citizen for a Free Kuwait based in Washington.
All you represent the same organization?
Yes, they're all. I am Hassan Al-Ibrahim, the former Minister of Education in Kuwait. I am presently the chairman of Kuwait Society for the Advancement of Arab Children and president of the new organization in the United States, Citizen for Free Kuwait.
With this group, they were able to funnel millions of dollars into a public relations campaign to make Americans feel like Kuwait was worth fighting for. Hill and Knowlton then began interviewing Kuwaiti refugees, looking for stories that could galvanize public outrage. Accounts were chaotic, contradictory, and unverified. A claim was circulating among refugees and members of the Kuwaiti government at the UN. Iraqi soldiers had looted hospitals, stealing equipment and taking it back to Iraq, and premature babies had died as a result. The details were unclear and contradictory because, according to later investigations by Human Rights Watch, it was untrue. No incubators were stolen, no premature Kuwaiti babies died on hospital floors. Nevertheless, Hill and Knowlton had a war to sell. They needed a witness to these horrors. The witness they chose was a 15-year-old Kuwaiti girl known only as Nayirah. She was young, a good actress, and fluent in English. Her identity was concealed from Congress and the public under the pretext of protecting her family in occupied Kuwait.
If an Iraqi soldier was found dead in a neighborhood, they burned to the ground all the houses in the general vicinity and would not let firefighters come until only ash and rubble was left.
Hill and Knowlton's staff worked with her to shape her delivery and create a vivid, horrifying narrative with a script that was as simple as it was devastating. She was ready for Congress. Nayirah testified before the Human Rights Caucus. This is not a formal congressional committee, and that means that it does not require the witness to be sworn in. There is no cross-examination and no legal consequences for false testimony. Hill and Knowlton's vice president helped organize the hearing itself. The caucus was co-chaired by Congressman Tom Lantos and Congressman John Porter, both of whom had close relationships with Hill and Knowlton. They agreed to keep Nayirah's identity a secret. Nayirah was the daughter of Saud Nasir al-Sabah, the Kuwaiti ambassador to the United States and a member of the royal family. Al-Sabah testified at the same hearing a few feet away from his daughter, the public none the wiser of their relationship. On October 10, 1990, the room was packed with reporters, the cameras were positioned, and the witness was ready. Nayirah delivered her lines with trembling emotion. She cried, her voice cracked. She made perfect television.
It was horrifying.
Within hours, the incubator story was on every major news network, and within days, it was repeated by senators. Within weeks, President George H.W. Bush cited it 6 times in speeches pushing for military action. The story had become a moral justification for war. The United States began military action as the leader of a UN coalition on January 16, 1991. 2,300 Iraqi civilians died during the air campaign, including the death of 408 women and children when the U.S. dropped 2 bombs directly on an air raid shelter that had also been used during the Iran-Iraq War. The United States also directly targeted electrical, water, and transportation facilities that led to death by spread of illness, inability of hospitals to function, and starvation. Estimates for the number of indirect deaths are between 100,000 and 200,000. The New England Journal of Medicine published a report that child mortality in Iraq increased 3 times as a result of the war. The number of Iraqi soldiers killed is estimated to be between 20,000 and 50,000, including the aerial bombing of Iraqi soldiers leaving Kuwait by car and tanks. This incident of bombing fleeing Iraqi soldiers became known as the Highway of Death and raised serious ethical concerns even at the time, as it is illegal under international law to kill surrendering forces.
This shelter is right in the middle of a Baghdad residential district called Amariyah, right next to a supermarket. The people waiting here for the bodies to come out tell us that the bomb hit at about 4 in the morning. It was a direct hit in the center of the roof, cutting through 10 feet of steel-reinforced concrete on the way into the center of the shelter. We asked one man, "Who are you looking for?" 11, he said. 11 of my own. They are all in there. People in the crowd said, "Look at this piece of the bomb with writing in English on it." One man said, "I told them not to go into the shelter, but my wife said the children couldn't sleep otherwise." Dr. Bogos Bogosian is head of surgery.
And do you call this justice? Have a look at them. Who dares to say that we don't hit civilians?
Outside the hospital, as more bodies were brought in, officials and many residents told us, this is a great crime. Bill Blakemore, ABC News.
In January 1992, over a year after her testimony, Nayirah's identity came out. And it turns out Nayirah was not a nurse. She had never worked in a hospital as a volunteer. She was the daughter of the ambassador. And her testimony was part of a PR campaign by Hill and Knowlton and Citizens for a Free Kuwait. Amnesty International issued a correction, but by then, the war had already happened. The Nayirah testimony remains one of the most studied examples of political manipulation in modern history. It is a warning about the power of narrative and the dangers of unverified emotion in the halls of government. In the end, the incubator story wasn't just a lie, it was a carefully engineered moment designed to move a nation. And it worked.